Hello, who are you guys?
We're the bakers.
The bakers.
And this is the Bakerbus.
Yeah.
I'm Gareth.
I'm Vicky.
I'm Annabelle. And I'm Jess.
Amazing. The people that are watching this would like to see how you can fit a boat, 4 people, bikes, cars.
We do have some toys in the Bakerbus.
Windsurfing kit.
Yeah. So
Wow.
it is quite big.
Yeah.
But that's because there's 4 of us.
Yeah.
And this is our home. We live in it. We've been living in it for 7 months now.
You guys have quite a special lifestyle as well, traveling around for 7 months with 2 kids as well.
Yeah.
So I would love to talk a little bit about how you do with the school and travels and everything. So what do you say about having some Swedish coffee? And as we say in Sweden, it's Swedish fika.
Yeah.
And let's have a chat.
Sounds wonderful.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yay! Swedish coffee!
Yay! Nice. Oh, look at that.
Yes.
So how do you say cheers or thank you or in Swedish?
So cheers is skål.
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 Cheers.
And thank you is tack så mycket.
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 Yes.
Skål. Tack så mycket. Cheers. Let's try.
We can do this in Swedish, I think. Okay, guys. So this is what I think is really, really interesting because people that are watching, they usually see like young couples, old couples. Sometimes, you know, with kids traveling just for a month or 2 or a week or 2. But you've been on the road for 7 months.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And girls' school? Do we skip school or what do we do?
No, so we have a website that we've been using. When did we start using it? At home since I was in year 4, so like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That's part of your homeschooling.
Part of my
isn't it?
homeschooling. That's like a bit of it. And then some people might not know this, but in England you have SATs, and it's basically like GCSEs at the end of junior school. So in my year 6. And so every day I do 1 SATs paper.
Yeah.
1 whole SATs paper, and then every day, Jess, what do you do? You do Alex?
It varies. I do biology every day,
Yeah.
and I do maths every day,
Mm-hmm.
and I do the website Annabelle was talking about every day. And then I think sometimes we add stuff in, sometimes we take things out, depending on how big the test is.
So how many hours a day do you actually go to school?
Now this is going to be fascinating to see what they say.
1 hour.
So yeah,
1 hour, and she's 11.
It's not 1 hour.
I don't. Yeah.
It's really, really different. It used to
But
be
it's quite intense.
probably about 1 hour, but now I think it's about.
So should we
Hour.
maybe
Hour.
so
Okay, so what do you guys say then?
So I would say you do 2 or 3 hours a day, but not every day. We don't manage to do it every day. Like today, you've done some
Only
maths
when we're
today.
tired. I do it most days, but only when I'm tired I don't.
Yeah.
So
So
yesterday I only got half
It's
of
been
it
an
done.
interesting journey.
Yeah.
So we've learned along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Our plan originally was to leave in September, take them out to school, and homeschool them for probably a year, and then for them to go back to school in September. So we were just following the curriculum in order to plug them back into school in September. But quite
It's
quickly,
evolved, hasn't it?
we've accelerated you, haven't
Yeah.
we, I think.
So
Yeah.
what you discover in van life, and you'll know this, is you have more flexibility over your time.
Yeah.
So what we needed was some routine. So every morning the children have a minimum amount of work that they have to do, which covers maths and English, and that's the website that they were talking about. It's called IXL. It's very
IXL.
clever. It basically takes the curriculum for their age group, breaks it down into chunks, and then it tests them against each of those chunks. If they don't understand it, it helps teach them. If they can't do it from that, then they come to us.
It just throws us
Probably
in.
English with Vicky and maths probably with me. And then once they've learnt how to do that, it's very clever. If they're guessing or they don't really understand it, it forces them to go back. So if they get to 95 out of 100 and then start making mistakes as the questions get harder and harder,
Yeah.
then it boots them back to like 80, and then we'll know that it's not going well because you'll hear the groan. And then you can say,
you can probably hear the
you could probably hear it down the other end.
I'm in the other end of the barging.
So it's a very clever system that makes sure they actually understand what they're doing, not just answering questions.
Yeah.
You
And
can't guess. You can guess
yeah.
for like 3 questions.
You
and
can,
you're
you can
dead.
probably guess to begin with, and then afterwards, if you don't understand it, it catches you out.
So if she does a SATs paper and she gets two or three questions wrong, then we only focus on teaching her that, because we know that she's okay with everything else. So quite quickly we've been able to find the gaps in her learning. So rather than teach everything, we're only teaching the bits
They
that they don't know
or don't understand.
which has meant that they've actually accelerated a bit faster than we
If
thought
they've
they would.
accelerated faster, if you measure it against the exam, and you can get all the stuff online, past papers, marking guides. Then you say, how do you make their education broader? Well, obviously there's all the stuff that we do here. So if we take science, for example, both the girls, I'm fairly sure, would be able to describe to you about electricity, batteries, series circuits and parallel circuits, which is part of the science curriculum, but not just from a textbook, because they've watched me do solar power or sort the batteries out. And when you do it like that, that helps in that regard. And then their biology, you've been doing a lot of bug hunting with your friends, and so they get to see nature in
And
that
also
sense.
the mice.
So that's the broader bit. So the Bakerbus rule is get it done and then we can have fun. And therefore, everybody's trying to get their work done as quickly as possible. And quite rightly, sometimes, so this morning might be a really good example. So we had a lovely night last night. We had a film night with the vans. We were out. It was late. So the children were really tired. But this morning, I was woken up to hearing Jessica doing schoolwork. So we think that school's brilliant. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with schools, but actually the amount of time you spend in school by the time you get there, you can condense that all down to probably 3-4 hours a day.
I mean, it's taking me longer than it usually would, or than Annabelle, because we're trying to flip it round and me try and do the exam standard instead of doing my standard.
I'm sure there's gaps. I'm sure
There's big
there
gaps.
are gaps, but
it always will be.
Better at
Like no
Always.
matter where you are. So,
Yeah.
but then the question is, so because this is kind of interesting to see from 2 points of view, both from you girls, but also from you as parents. So, because it is quite a different lifestyle, right?
Yes.
I love it. I live by this rule myself. I do my work early in the morning, and he always complains about me going up 6 a.m. in the morning, and that's because I want to work and then I can enjoy the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get it done and have fun.
Exactly. So I absolutely love that. But have you had other like parents or people around in your surroundings, you know, your network, thinking like, what are they doing? How are they going to manage this? Have you had a lot of people like, you know, not believing that this will work?
People from home or people in vans that we've
Both.
Okay.
I personally think that people have been very supportive.
Oh wow, I love that.
And I think with the COVID lockdown, everyone was a little bit more open-minded with homeschooling because we all had to do it. And I think it opened up that feeling of actually, can we achieve it? For some people, it just does. It's not the right thing for them to do. It's hard work.
Yeah, you have to be
it's not necessarily easy. And the kids have got to want to do it. If you're fighting with kids that don't want to study and learn, then it is incredibly difficult. So for some families, it just doesn't work, and school is the right place for them. But we have just managed to make it work.
And
as a team, I think.
Yes. First it's a team activity.
Yeah, we discussed this morning as well.
So it requires everybody to be on board.
And
we can't force the children to learn. So if they dig their heels in and just say, I can't do it, it's too difficult.
And we did have that at the beginning.
And we definitely had that.
We?
So you're meeting us 7 months in. We know our routines. We know each other better.
Yeah.
We've been living in a box.
I was going to say, it all sounds easy.
It sounds super easy, but it's a roller coaster.
There's been some moments.
And I think, as you were saying, you were asking, do you meet people that sort of like think this isn't really going to work?
Yeah.
You're always going to meet people that are going to question it. Like,
Negatively,
I don't believe that you can do an exam without a teacher, or I don't believe that you can travel and work.
Yeah.
Which for some people really doesn't work. But so you're always going to meet people that don't fully think this isn't going to work.
possible.
Yeah, I think we haven't
No.
met any yet.
But you will.
But like, you know, a few
course.
a few friends at school,
Yeah.
some of them thought like, oh, they're not going to do it.
But
They're
I
just gonna come back to
understand.
school.
I really understand that, because we also didn't think we would
Yeah.
be able to.
And
do
here you
it.
are.
And
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah.
I mean, we only decided this last January,
Yeah.
and it's just evolved.
Yeah.
So it's possible if you want it.
Yeah.
And there's a word that the most commonly used word that we had in the last 7 months is how lucky we are. And one of the things that we're lucky with is that our children have really bought into the concept, and that means that I can wake up in the morning and they've already got up and done their schoolwork. But that didn't start from nothing. Back when we were at home in a more traditional lifestyle, we would make them get up and do extra schoolwork before they went to school, which they complained about bitterly. So what all we've done is just extend that a little
parents.
bit. Mean parents. Yeah, we're terribly mean parents.
You are.
But just to remind you, how many hours of school do you do a day?
I'm going to tell you that.
No.
So how is life then for you girls? Like, if we start with you, Jess, like, do you like this lifestyle? Do you miss going back to school? Like,
So
how do you like this?
very small things I miss,
Mm-hmm.
but like
Washing
it's
machine.
all about balance. Like I miss my friends, I miss my cats, I miss my nan, I miss showers. Like big. We
I'm
shower,
with you on
but I
that.
miss hours of showering. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think when we go home and we end up with our own rooms again, it's kind of really weird.
Do you miss your bedroom?
No, not one bit. Like
Yeah.
me and Annabelle have literally always been in the same room in a double bed, for all our life. And then coming in here, it's like we were never forced to live together in the same room.
Space.
And we kind of just did it. But now, even now we're forced, I would never ever want to go back to my own room.
You had your own room for a while, didn't you?
Same.
Never.
So,
I'd never want to do it again. I love waking up. Like my head always. I'm here, so I love waking up, and my dad will be working. My mum will be
in bed.
probably. But I can just
That's
look
nice.
down on everyone. In my own room, I can't do that. I can open the door and look at the hallway, but it's
Yeah.
not that interesting.
Yeah, it's
So,
the same for me.
My lifestyle is great here. I love it.
That's the same for
Bless
me.
you.
Like we do have 2 separate bedrooms, but we've always been together. I miss a few friends at school, like some of my best friends and stuff, and I miss my nans and my cats and stuff. And like Jess said, the small things like a shower or a washing machine.
So you do the washing at home?
No.
No.
So how can you miss it?
Out of all the things they miss in a house,
The washing
You
machine!
know why I think that is because you walked past the washing machine to get into the house. So I think it was like the entrance. I don't
of
know
my
why.
home.
I love it.
But again, I do love it here. You know, I can go climbing while everyone else is like at school, and
Do
I
you
just
want to
do
go?
whatever.
Do you want to go back to school?
No.
Ever?
So we think originally we said we wanted to plug them back into the school system because we didn't know what we were going to do. And as parents, you don't want to shut any doors early.
Yeah.
So we need to leave all opportunities open for them. So we have to make sure they pass their exams. So that for us is our major goal.
Yeah.
Whether we do that ourselves or whether we do it through the school system or private tutors or however we do it. But that is the goal, is to make sure that at the end of the process they're not disadvantaged through us bringing them out of school. And the one thing that's slightly harder is like socialisation, playground politics, all of those sort of things. But of course they did go to school for a long time. But you've met our girls, so you meet a lot of people on the road and they're forced to come and talk to people, engage, have conversations, be polite and all of those sort of things, and understand how adult dynamics work. So I think they get a lot of that.
You also found kids along the way then.
And we found children.
I
along the
think
way.
that it is quite important though to go to school before until like a certain age, because otherwise, you know, you just don't get you don't get forced to like socialize, and you just don't learn those social skills. But it's also good to see both worlds. Like the adult world is a lot different. It's a lot of just sitting down and talking. And
Like we're doing now.
yeah,
Talking and drinking.
yeah, and I'm
Gin and
now
tonic.
used to that. So I think it's really important as well to see both sides. So like we'd always be at like parties with our friends, and sometimes I go to sit with the adults, because you do need both sides, like the running around and the jumping, and then the sitting and the talking.
The sitting board.
Yeah, but it feels like, you know, you girls get to go in, as I call it, the school of life.
Yeah,
You know, that
That's
you learn
good
so
one.
many different. I just saw when you did the bonfire like 2 nights ago, and, and you asked Annabelle, why didn't I turn around? And you said because of the wind. You know, it's these small little things that you learned that I might not have learned when I was a kid, or someone else don't learn. And you know, the social skills, and we talked about it before, girls, as well, like, you know, the phones and the computers and stuff. You're never on that. I've never seen you with a phone.
I think my friends
They were.
So that's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
We had a lot of cold turkey.
6 weeks, I think it took us to really pull
And
ourselves away from social media.
I used to get like quite addicted to like TikTok and games.
Yeah.
And now I don't even know on my phone. It's like it could be anywhere.
Yeah.
It could be back into it.
Because you're enjoying life here and now at
It's
this
a different
moment.
focus.
Yeah.
And I think you can't underestimate, and you'll know this because you work in that environment, but the pressures of social media on everybody, but particularly young girls.
Yeah.
And we hadn't really
clocked it. We hadn't recognised it. And you always think as a parent, there's things you think as a parent, and you say, "Oh, I'll never do this," or "This will never happen." And of course, in reality, it's different. It's very, very different. And phones was one of them. And I said, "Well, our children won't have phones," but they both danced. And so then it was like music, access to music for them to go dancing. So you take a phone and a speaker, and they can go in the garden and they can go and dance. But before you know it, that's TikTok, and then before TikTok, then you start, well, I want Snapchat, and then I want Facebook, and I want Instagram, and then they're just being bombarded with imagery and content that, as a parent, you wouldn't necessarily choose for your 11, 12-year-old daughter to be seeing. And that, when we took it away, because we were travelling, and it just became a natural process, and we were witnessing it more because we could see it in the bus. That was fascinating, and I would describe it as being the same as a drug addict going through withdrawal symptoms. They were scratchy, itchy, scratchy, miserable.
Yeah, it is, but because it's something you get addicted to. It's just how it is.
And I don't even like my phone anymore. I mean, it just makes me like weird, and I just go
and
tired.
It hurts my head.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, it's really funny because me and Annabelle, you wouldn't even know we were sisters. You'd think we were actually mortal enemies. You would think that I actually hated her guts. I probably did.
Same.
But it's like, because we were just glued to the screen,
and so it made us miserable.
We were literally would never.
Also, something we talk about is that nothing can go
mentioned.
You have to solve everything.
Yeah.
You can't leave anything.
So that's like a double-edged sword, isn't it? So the advantage of being in a small space is that any issues have to get resolved. Otherwise, it's just
you can't build it up for weeks and weeks and just be annoyed and you know.
Yeah.
But the disadvantage is, of course, is you're on top of each other. So you sometimes those frictions might be a bit magnified.
So what happened at the beginning is, I think things were left unsaid from our home life, and then we came into this box. And we were just a mass of emotions, weren't we?
The plan for you guys now are to go back to the UK, right?
Yes.
We're going to Ireland first.
To Ireland first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool.
the aim, the aspiration, is to go to Ireland for a month or so and explore Ireland, and then head home for the summer. Catch up with friends and family because
we can't wait to see.
We can't wait to get home and do that.
You do know you have to do the accent, Ireland. Can't just say Ireland. You have to do the accent, Ireland.
To be sure, we're going to Ireland. And then home for maybe 3 months, not sure exactly. So we need to re-rent our house, we need to check in with family and make sure everything's all right. But when we go home to UK, we are still living in the Bakerbus.
The original plan was to put them back in school in September, but that the only plan we have is that they're definitely not doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay, so my question for you guys as a couple now. So how do you balance with, like, do you work, do you know, your own things, it's homeschooling, you know, all of this. So how do you guys do that to make everything work on a daily basis?
So I think most of my time goes on researching what I'm doing with homeschooling, or what we're, as a family, what we're doing with homeschooling. So I've done the bulk of the research.
You're like head of curriculum.
I'm headmistress.
And headmistress. Yes, for sure.
Gareth's head of maths, obviously. And so quite a lot of my time is taken up with that.
Yeah.
I'm also a nutritionist.
Yeah.
So I've written a book that I'm now just going to start to promote.
Yeah, so people can still buy your book now while you're out traveling, so they can buy that online?
They can.
Perfect. I'll link it below.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, that's on Amazon. So you're published.
Yeah.
Published.
Love it.
And now the journey begins to promote it.
Amazing.
So that's me.
So that covers you sort of being able to do it in the bus and online. And then for me, I spent 24 years in the British Army. And so when I retired, you get a small pension from that. So that's part of our financial stability. And we rented our house at home, which provides the other little bit. And then I work as an operations director in a startup.
What's going on here?
So I work as an operations director in a startup company, and we're small and we've been going for 4 years. We are still developing our product and we haven't made a lot of money yet, or no money yet. But the vast majority of that is done remotely. It's a lot of tech and stuff and online. So that gave us the opportunity to be able to travel and still do that.
Well, there's so many opportunities out there. You just have to be open to see them, right? And you have to
And you
be open to go for it.
And they do say you just need to do what you love and
do what you love and things will come.
Law of attraction.
Law of attraction. And of course, traveling, you meet so many different people. So literally, you know, we are... Can't see out the window, but we're in a beautiful mountain range by a stunning lake.
Stunning
and
both sides.
And like-minded people sometimes gravitate to like-minded places, don't you? And I think that's been a fantastic part of what we've been doing, is the people you meet and the things you learn. So we're trying to develop sort of strong, you know, well-motivated, high self-esteem, you know, stable, independent young girls. And then you're climbing a mountain. I'm looking up at the mountain going, I'm not sure I can get up there. And then you see both your children are already beating you up and they have no fear. And so to watch them overcome those challenges, and that's happened, and generally do that through sport, but equally to overcome the challenges of like schoolwork. Ants is a good one. Jessica had a bit of a phobia about ants, and Piera helped her overcome that while climbing. But even on the schoolwork, you were struggling you could see this mountain of work and it's like, I can't do it, it's too much. But then to watch you break it down into bits and then incrementally work your way through it, and then when you finished it all, you were like so proud of yourself.
What happened was, in lockdown, I wasn't doing my schoolwork properly. So I was doing my set schoolwork from the actual school, but what Mum and Dad were setting me, I wasn't doing.
I think the thing that we have decided with this lifestyle is not to run away from traditional exams and traditional lifestyle, but to embrace all that we have around us while doing it.
It's anybody can do it. Yeah. But you have to recognise it's not as easy. It's not necessarily easy. Living in a van isn't always easy. You've got to look after the vehicle itself. You've got to look after each other. There'll be challenges of like if it rains for a week, being in a van for a week can be really tough.
And also you need to you have to be like the right mindset. So if you're like high in the clouds and you're just, you know, not doing it right almost, you kind of have to be like grounded.
We talk about grounding.
So that you've got to be calm, and you can't just do whatever you want.
Tide is amazing.
Respect everyone. Okay, guys, just to finish up with a few questions, because I know that, first of all, to you guys, so there's many people and families out there that might look at social media or whatever it is, or hear people doing this and they're like, oh, I wish we could do it, or you know, how would that be possible? If you could give them one tip, parent to parent, to make this possible, what would you say?
Well, while you're thinking, I think my tip would be just go for it. So if you're thinking about it, then go for it, and everything's possible. So you just, any problem, any challenge, you will be able to overcome if you make that your goal. There's always reasons not to do it.
Yeah.
So you've got to overcome those and just go for it, because it's possible for everybody. I think that would be my tip.
It is. I think the one thing that we haven't really discussed is you have to have some income to be able to do it. So you've got to find a method of at least supporting. You don't need as much money as you would when you're in a house, but you do need some way of being able to support yourself while you're on the road.
Yeah.
And so if trying to find a method of being independent rather than relying on a job is actually very difficult. But if you can find that way, then you're...
That helps you out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Cool. And you girls, if you would say one thing, the best about this lifestyle, one thing.
Jess, you go first.
Especially for children, if you're travelling with a sibling, be each other's best friends.
Yes, definitely.
Because you're not gonna. We were very lucky to find friends, but they're not in the same van as you 24/7. So if you can do your best to be best friends and just
you gotta really try
You
hard.
had to learn that.
Yeah, me and Jess, we weren't like the closest. I mean, we used to sleep in the same room and stuff, but we really actually weren't the closest. Now, I have no secret that I don't tell Jess. She knows everything about me. I know everything about her. So yeah, Jess's tip is very good. You have to. It's not just, oh, you're my best friend. No, you're not. You actually, you have to really try.
Really feel it.
Yeah, and especially.
And what's your thing then? Okay. The best thing about this lifestyle?
Okay, so my tip would be...
Tip or the best thing?
Okay.
Can decide.
Alright. My tip would be just get your schoolwork done, you know? You're gonna have
Get it done, have fun.
Just get it done. And then, like, you've got to be open to new things. So get your schoolwork done, and then if they say, oh, we're going to go do this, and you don't really want to do it, tough luck. Just go.
That is a really good thing.
If your friends at the end of the car park say, we're going to do a workout to the worst song in the world, just go,
okay.
Brilliant.
What was it called? Up, down, Sally.
Bring Sally up.
Bring Sally up. Bring Sally up. There you go. But that's a lovely tip. That's a lovely tip.
Going back to, like, the sibling thing, you really just, I think that was the best. You have to be your best.
Yeah, I love that too. That's amazing. Loads of love.
You've done really well, girls.
Yeah.
Cool.
Especially as we're opposites, we had to try really quite hard.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So,
thank you guys.
well, thank you
Thank
for
you.
the coffee.
It's been a
Best coffee
pleasure.
ever.
And really, really inspired by your lifestyle. Gives me hope that I can do this with my kids in the future.
Yeah.
And
We
really
have to say we have learnt from people that we meet, and you guys just are incredible. In fact, you've cost us a fortune.
Yeah.
You showed us all the things we need.
So we need a portable cinema.
First you said we don't need much,
Yeah.
and now we're going to go back.
Or you just keep travelling with us and you don't need to buy any of them. I do.
Yeah,
You
Lovely.
definitely need to come and visit us in the UK.
Of course we will. Well, thank you guys so much, and I'm gonna link all of your Instagrams and whatever it is, and where they can buy your book and where you can follow them. So it's possible to live van life as a family as well. You guys have proven
100%.
that, and it's amazing to see the happiness and love between you. It's really, really inspiring.
Bless. Thank you.
Thank
How do
you,
we
guys.
say goodbye in Swedish?
Hejdå.
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 Hejdå.